I'd like to call to order the City of North Ridgeville Planning Commission meeting for May 13th, 2025. Ma'am Secretary, please call roll.
Ollie. Toth.
Here.
Schumann.
Present.
Avens.
Here.
Smollett.
Here.
Assistant Law Director Morgan. Planning and Development Director Lieber. City Engineer Evison.
At this time, everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Has all the commission members had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from April 8th, 2025? Are there any corrections at this time? Hearing none, those minutes shall stand. First order of business will be the master tree plan. Director Lieber?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Recently, City Council adopted some amendments to Chapter 1030 of our codified ordinances, trees, and also we formerly had a chapter in our codified called Master Tree Plan. These chapters were a little outdated, some of the provisions dating from the 1960s, and while some updates had been made, really it was a little bit neglected and not well overseen. So there are some tree species that are specifically listed as either permitted or prohibited, and we hadn't really kept up with the rise of certain invasive species and then best landscaping and arborist practices. So we took a swing at rewriting the section on trees, both addressing public trees, so street trees, and trees in other public places required maintenance of, and we created a no-fee permit process for those that plant or remove trees in the public right-of-way. Those regulations go into effect just after Memorial Day, so May 27th, our new street tree permitting process will be in place, and that it also put in some more guidance for property owners on tree maintenance and also established the responsibilities of private property owners for the maintenance of private trees, and then gave the city some ability to address dangerous trees that threaten public health or safety. So we've done a bit of a cleanup on that code section, but one thing that we also wanted to do was to have a separate document, not a codified chapter, but a separate master tree plan document. So you had sent to you previously our draft master tree plan. So this was an effort of city staff in different departments, our arborist, Ryan Thomas, myself, our engineering department, and just looking for some best practices to compile into one place. So rather than have a code adopted where anytime a new invasive species comes out, we have to go back to council to get council to amend an ordinance, we thought having a separate guiding document was a better way to go, and that document would be adopted by the Planning Commission and then kept by the city arborist up to date, and he can add, updated guiding documents, other attachments, park plans for our city parks along the way, kind of create a binder or Bible for trees in the city. So the request of Planning Commission is that you review the master tree plan, and tonight you can ask us any questions or make any comments. Mr. Thomas might want to say a few words, who has joined us here this evening, and then ultimately at tonight or a future meeting to be able to adopt it, and that will become our go-to for tree maintenance and planting and forestry in the city of North Ridgeville.
City Arborist, do you have anything to add?
It's going to be pretty hard to follow. She covered the basis of it. It's just to act as a tool to implement best management practices, not only amongst landscapers that are hired by developers, but that are hired by communities and even ourselves, our own public works department, just to implement proper tree care all around the board. My position is to see the overall canopy of the city grow rather than decline, and we're starting from a low number.
Okay. Is this going to eventually lead into possibly Tree City USA recognition?
Yes, we held our Arbor Day celebration on Arbor Day last month, the 25th. We planted a sugar maple over at Shady Park. The next few steps are already in swing, and we plan on applying this year.
Okay, very well. Does any of the commission members have any questions or comments in regards to the master tree plan? Okay, well, thank you. And I think, reading the temperature of the room, I think we're going to just sit on it and probably act on it at the next meeting. Okay, very well. Next on the agenda is administrative approvals. Director Lieber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since your last meeting, 3 certificates of zoning compliance were approved, one for the Dog Wizard Westlake, one for Halo Smoke, and one for Hennessy Lawn and Landscape. And then there will be a few additional on your next agenda, so it's been a busy spring for new businesses in North Ridgeville. Thank you.
Okay. We have one order of old business on the agenda tonight. Madam Secretary, please read this application.
PPZ 2025-0337, Victory Park, 7777 Victory Lane, PPN 07-00-003-102-106, owner PMJ Park Holdings, 7777 Victory Lane, North Ridgeville, Ohio 44039. Proposal consists of lighting plan for Sports Park. Property is zoned I-2 Light Industrial District.
Okay, Director Lieber, finding of fact.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Earlier this year, Planning Commission approved the installation of 2 turf fields at Victory Park. However, at the time, there was a bit of insufficient detail provided in regards to the proposed lighting package. So that was separated out from the overall approval of the field improvements. And as you know, Planning Commission has some unique authority to grant approval of lighting plans that would otherwise deviate from our code requirements. And so just as a reminder, the code states that because of their unique requirements for providing greater nighttime visibility, their need to ensure public safety, and their limited hours of operation, stadiums that include ball diamonds, playing fields, tennis courts, amphitheaters, and similar uses are exempted from the exterior lighting standards as specified above. A lighting plan for these uses shall be established at the time that the request for lighting is made and shall be subject to Planning Commission approval. So this doesn't have to appear before the BZA, but this is the body that would review that lighting plan. There's 12 new pole lights proposed. 10 are surrounding the proposed fields at 80 feet high and 2 are 70 feet high. The pole height, fixture type, and illumination levels are, of course, exceed code requirements. However, that's why you're reviewing it here tonight. So we had posed some questions to the applicant and they had responded in their submittals, but I know they have a presentation for you as well. We wanted to know the extent of light trespass off the property. We wanted to know the setbacks of the proposed light poles from all of the different property lines. We requested some evidence as to the need for the extent and the intensity of the lighting and the height of the poles provided, if there are some kind of industry standards at play here. We had asked how the proposed system might be different than previous lighting systems and how they would be controlled. And then also that the glare or the lighting wouldn't have negative impacts either to, and very importantly, to our public road system, causing any glare issues for drivers or any other negative impacts for surrounding businesses. And also ask them to just share their light control measures as to how they would ensure that it did not create any hazards for surrounding properties. So I know they're well prepared to speak to you tonight about their lighting plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, City Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually had more questions than I had comments, so if I'll just ask my questions, and then when the applicant has an opportunity to speak on their behalf, that if he could address the concerns I had. So I just wanted to confirm that the light poles that are in between the existing fields and the new poles would be shared, and then new heads would be added to those, and then how many heads would be on each of those poles? Because it looks like there's already 8 to 10 heads facing the existing two fields. So I just wanted confirmation on like the number of heads. And then I also had a question. So it looks like this is a different lifestyle, lighting fixture than what is already out there for the existing fields, and it does look like there's shielding opportunities. But I just wanted to know, like, is if there becomes an issue down the way, and we potentially might require or request more shielding, if more shielding could be added. It wasn't clear to me in the specification if more shielding could be potentially added to these new structures. And then I believe we talked about in the last Planning Commission meeting with the applicant about an additive footprint for the foot candles in total. So it just appeared to me that this was only the new fixtures, and I didn't really see the existing fixtures being added to the new fixtures. And I believe there's no, those are like a dome, from what I could tell. They're dome-style fixtures that don't appear to have any shielding. So, you know, that's concerning to me, to add the existing with the new, and how that additive might look in the foot candle measurement. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Assistant Law Director?
No known legal issues.
All right, that sounds good. Okay, I believe the applicants are here. If you guys want to come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and then fill us in a little bit, and then perhaps chime in on some of these questions that were presented to the commission tonight.
Good evening. Joe Borky, 9091 Hilo Farm, Menor, Ohio. I am the managing partner for PMJ Park Holdings, DBA Victory Park, Ohio. I brought a slew of people with me today. One in particular is from the lighting company that's doing a lot of the work for this. I'll let him answer the bulk of those questions, other than there's no fixtures adding to the old poles.
So are they new poles then?
They're all new, yeah, it's all new poles. Some of them will be rear-mounted fixtures to help with the old fields, because those do not sufficiently meet the lighting standards for baseball and softball infields at this point. The fields that are out there were originally designed for soccer only, not for baseball and softball. Those fields were extended when the turf was put in, so therefore the corners, there's dark spots compared to the 30-foot candles that were on there originally, so you're down to 10-foot candles or so on either side there, so that's not, it's below the standards for the industry for baseball and softball. Outside of that, I'll introduce Troy. He's with Geo Lighting. He can answer a lot of those questions, and you might want to go back through those again one at a time, and he might be able to address a good deal of those. As far as the shielding, there was no real reason for shields on these particular ones, because they are spots, and the directionals and the lumens that are involved with that are nothing like the old fixtures that are up there. Those were metal halide fixtures. These are direct focused LED lights, so it's a whole different type of lamp.
Okay, if you don't mind, state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
All right, Troy Tyler, 2820 Mechanic Road, Hillsdale, Michigan. So, guess throw some questions at me. There is small shielding on this. We do offer a more extended shield, but for this application, we supply a system. We don't like to look at it as a fixture. We have many different fixture series for customers' needs and applications of fields and where they're located and everything. And given what we see here, we are confident in the fixture and the shielding that we have, given what's already existing at the park, for one, and the numbers. I remember a movie theater was a concern, and that is This will have no effect on that with the distance from the new lights. And that's kind of it. And if anyone has any specific questions they'd like answered.
Right, so one of them was, we're concerned about glare to the motoring public or the surrounding businesses. So, based on the height of these lights, could there be glare for, cars driving by?
No, not any worse than a street lamp or a Rite Aid parking lot or, anything like that. We have the poles at 80 foot tall and with the direct light, as he mentioned, and everything is based off an aiming angle of the fixture and a direct light. So the pole is high enough and you can only have that fixture at a certain angle. And the angle as which the fixture is at, that will, help reduce glare and spill and anything to that nature. We don't see any concern with any of the streets or around where glare will have an impact on any driver or walker or anyone in, the stores or anything like that.
So the other question was, about once these are up and if light pollution is a problem for an adjacent parcel, do the lights just get aimed or can actual additional shielding be put on?
You can. Our fixture, the Clear 2 fixture we were using in this application, it comes with a standard visor, what we call. It does have a shield. It's called our standard visor. It's just not a big, what we call a hood but that is, you can take that off if there was a problem, if there was a fixture, aimed somewhere and you were getting complaints, that you can add the extended visor to that fixture and replace the standard visor. Now that does have a little effect on the field of play, but it would just be, some re-aiming of the fixtures and things like that, because it's a different, visor affects how the light, a longer visor, off the visor shoots down and creates some more backlight really. But yes, you can add, to keep it simple, you can add a better visor if there is a problem after installation.
Okay. And then, obviously there's existing lights out there.
Yep.
Could those be included with the foot candle calculation? So that way you see the total foot candle with everything lit up at once?
We can't really guarantee, especially the metal halide system, because they degrade so bad compared to LED over time with dirt depreciation and all that, to where I don't know how old they are, but we don't really, well, we could, if you went out there with a light meter and metered the fields, I guess you could.
Well, conservatively, you could just assume they're new then,
Okay. So
without
then-
any degradation.
Well, with metal halide?
Well, the administration, would like that information, so that way, we're concerned about light pollution on an adjacent
Oh,
parcel.
we can, if you want to see a design, we have an old metal halide fixture. We haven't used it in years, but we can mimic a design of what currently exists there, the number of poles and fixtures, and show you how our fixture compares to. I don't know what's currently there, what fixture's currently there. They all vary a little with all the different companies. We all have our own fixture.
Right.
And really, they're all good fixtures. It's just what system and what works best for the customer. But we could mimic a metal halide design. We still do have photometric files to do that.
And I believe that's what the administration is looking for.
That's what I was hoping for.
Perfect.
Is there a particular foot candle level at the intersection that's approved for the intersection that cannot exceed?
My concern would be the neighboring properties, and I can't speak to the code directly, but I'm looking at the neighboring properties, and quite frankly, that recreational lake next to you on the east side, just how that additive property of the existing light could potentially
So as we're looking at all of their numbers up there, when you're less than 1 foot candle on all of those. 0.2, 0.1, at dusk, you're at
But I guess I would like to see all around, the entirety, because there's 8, I counted 8 light poles on the 2 fields next to these 2 fields.
those are existing, yes.
With 8 to 10 lights each that don't have shields, so I'm gonna go out on a limb and bet that without degradation, those were probably a higher foot candle than these. Cause or higher spillover because there wasn't any shielding with them, so I was hoping to see how that would affect the neighboring properties.
Well, so you see the additional effect from these at 0.1, 0.2, so whatever the existing is, it is. So if they're 6 foot candles, 7 foot candles, I don't know off the top of my head, you're adding 0.1 to it.
What you're saying, though, I would believe. would be true
Sir,
as well.
do you mind stepping up to the microphone? It's easier to do
What
minutes
you're
that way.
saying, though, I would believe to be correct, because it's metal halide out there for one existing now, and if you say they have no shields, then the scenario you have right now is already worse than what this will add to it.
Well, I guess that's kind of where I was going, like how bad is it?
It's not bad, and I mean, how have people complained, or is it hurt? I mean, I don't know. I'm asking you. If you're without your codes, or we usually go by codes when we meet spills, but I mean, if you wanted to, we could show you a close replica of matching the fixture counts with our metal halide fixture with no visor, and we could show you like this what those would add to it, what you're dealing with now. But also you have to keep in mind that I don't think you run all these lights at once, do you?
We will at some point.
Okay.
There will be, and again, that's from dark till 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
roughly. So sometimes it's 2 hours, sometimes it's 3 hours.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're being held to what's being there existing, ours is gonna be much better.
The Starbucks puts out more foot candles on that intersection than we do.
It'd just be nice to see the additive properties of the existing.
Of the 2 fields above what we're looking at, right? Okay. That's something that we can do.
Okay, well, thank you. I think the last question was height of poles. What was the height of these?
80 foot for the big multi-purpose turf area you see with the 12 around it, and then the other 2 that we're adding over there to help that infield, those are 70 foot.
Okay,
Because your throws, as you see, when I say throws, you see those lines, those are the fixtures and the aiming. So your throws on that bigger field are a lot longer, and that's what I meant with aiming. The further the throw, the more the angle goes up. That's concerning for spill and glare. Those, as you can see, are a lot shorter aimed, so you can use a shorter pole and still have the direct light going where it's aimed without having any up or ambient light.
okay, perfect. Okay, at this time, I'm going to open it up for the audience. Does anybody in the audience have any questions or comments in regards to this project? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. All right, hearing none, I will close public comment. And at this time, does the commission have any questions or comments? Go ahead, Steve.
Chair, I have one comment. As far as LED, the metal halide is like dinosaur. LEDs, you can control them either an app or a remote, and you can change pretty much all we're talking about can be changed through an app. I'm talking from experience, I'm in the field. So, you can change the color, all this we're talking, the wattage, all this we're talking about can be controlled usually by an app with a good quality LED. So,
Okay, thank
that's
you.
all, sir.
Does any of the other commission members have any questions or comments? Okay, was there any last questions or comments from the administration? All right. Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion. I'd like to make a motion to accept with the condition the applicant submits a new foot candle calculation trying to mimic the existing lighting conditions on site today. Any discussion on that motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Ali,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Schuman,
Yes.
Avon,
Yes.
Smollett.
Yes.
Motion carries with a vote of 4-0. Five to 0.
All right, Madam Secretary, now we're in new business. Please read the first applicant for new business.
PPZ 2024-0299, Hampton Place Subdivision Phase 8, PPN 07-00-009-000-203 and -515. Owner Valori Properties, 23550 Center Ridge Road, number 101, Westlake, Ohio, 44145. Proposal consists of final development plan approval of Hampton Place subdivision Phase A. Property is zoned R-1 Residence District.
Okay, Director Lieber, finding of fact.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The preliminary plan for Hampton Place was amended in 2023 to account for Phase 8. You might recall that there is a change in that there is an area of originally proposed commercial property that was instead developed residentially. The developer had altered the layout of the residential lots on about 11.5 acres planned for residential, and then also added about a 17-acre piece of property that had been reserved for commercial use. So Phase 8 collectively is a bit over 28 acres containing 55 dwelling units, 44 that are considered single-family lots and 11 on cluster lots. The density is 1.93 units per acre, which is under the required density. In this phase, there's a bit over 7 acres, which is 24.7% of open space, most of which will be used for stormwater management or delineated wetland areas. Also, just as a note, a slight change from the preliminary plan that you approved based on engineering's requirements for stormwater management, especially where the development was going to abut dwellings on Avon Belden. The size of several of the single-family lots were reduced, and then the amount of open space increased. As a result of that lot reduction, the applicant had to apply to the BZBA for a couple variances to create a couple sublots that were smaller than code would require, but those were approved, so those are now considered conforming. Also, I wanted to mention that a landscape plan was a requirement of your final approval, and that was submitted with input from our city arborist. The developers updated their proposal from that, which I think was in your packet, and has selected 3 street tree varieties. Yoshino cherry, shade master honey locust, and greenspire linden will be the 3 tree types, and the developer will submit a planting plan before those are ultimately installed, which will be a little bit of time from now. Also, as part of the city arborist review, he had noted that the landscape plan for Phase 7 was a monoculture, all the same plant. So he had asked, since they hadn't been installed yet, if those could also be diversified, and the developer had agreed and has agreed to American sycamore, shade master honey locust, and red sunset maple. So just to point out that the greater variety of plantings in this case brings this plan more in line with the master tree plan that we discussed a little earlier this evening. So that's, I think, a positive development. Thank you.
Nice, thank you. City engineer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to add on to Ms. Lieber's summary, I just wanted to note there are many items still outstanding concerning the improvements for this phase of construction. The developer's agreement does allow for the developer to provide a performance bond to cover these outstanding items. Engineering has estimated these items at a value of over $1 million. There's some large-scale items, including the concrete roadways that still are not installed. Additionally, there are some items of concern, including a section of sanitary sewer that failed the pressure test and will need further investigation. There's also a matter of an existing drainage tile found behind some of the existing residents along State Route 83 that has not been addressed. From our field observations, it is believed to run along Hampton's eastern property line as well as the neighboring properties to the east along State Route 83. I don't know if this tile is stormwater. It's been unidentified yet, if it's truly a stormwater drainage tile or if it potentially conveys discharge from the leach fields along State Route 83. If it's proven to be stormwater, we would ask the developer to pick it up and either tie it into the stormwater management system or bypass it with a ditch or additional piping. If it does carry septic discharge and it has been proven that no easements exist on the developer's property, then although it's not the developer's responsibility to provide an outlet for those leach beds, they still need to alert Lorraine County Public Health of the situation so that they may investigate potential solutions for that issue. It is these concerns that I recommend that the plat not be signed until this issue is resolved, as because it could potentially force realigning the sublot property lines or the block property lines if additional drainage needs to happen within the Hampton development. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, Assistant Law Director?
Mr. Chairman, based on the engineering comments, I guess I have a question. You indicated there might be $1 million worth of work that needs to be covered. Have they posted that bond?
No, we have just estimated the outstanding items.
When would you expect to get it, the bond, for coverage? You said you indicated the development agreement would allow for that.
Yeah. As a standard practice, we do allow for outstanding items to be addressed with a performance bond that has to be issued at 100% of the value of outstanding items. So we have already made the developer, the applicant, aware that if they do have outstanding items, we would request this performance bond, but
And there,
that transaction has not transpired.
okay, but you would be okay with approval prior to that, or would you be more comfortable with the bond before approval?
Again, I'm hesitant to sign the plat if there's gonna be sublot redefinition or HOA block redefinition in this area of the drainage tile, because there potentially might, you might need more room to address the drainage. So I am very cautious of signing the plat without this particular item being worked out.
My concern is if we approve, then why would we not sign the plat? What's the authority for not signing the plat if we approve the plan? Is that commonly done?
Well, I think either it needs to be conditional, that this item needs to be addressed prior to plat approval, or we don't give this approval for plat.
If the commission wants to approve this, and I believe this is the last phase, right? And the work you're talking about, is it just in this phase or is it over the whole
It's just
development?
this phase.
Okay. That would definitely need to be a condition.
Okay. I see Jason here, represents Valori. Do you want to stand up, state your name and address for the record, and tell us a little bit more?
Jason Fishbach, 31001 Hilliard Boulevard, Westlake, Ohio. Just to touch on, we are starting to pave tomorrow. And talking with Trimore before this meeting, we expect to have everything cured out completely, including cul-de-sacs, by the 29th of May this month. Okay, so that, I'm sure that probably made up a huge, huge portion of the $1 million that we spoke about, right? Probably even over 3/4 of that amount would be my guess. I don't know what
And I'm
number.
sure you don't want to write the performance bond if you don't have to.
Correct.
So
Correct.
perhaps you'd want to.
Right, so,
wait until that improvement's.
so we could definitely, within 23 days from now, we'll have the concrete down as long as we get some cooperation from Mother Nature, but we've calculated that in. Also, as far as any of the drainage on the backside, obviously, we put in that big storm system that was incorporated into the plans. And I don't know exactly where that or what is in that other storm drain that was discovered. So we would have to definitely investigate that. But as far as anything being, contingent upon getting this plat to move forward, just based on our timeline, I would do anything and everything that we had to do to keep it moving forward, especially since we're starting to pave tomorrow. Everything is set up in there, and, we're ready to go. So we'd like to keep it moving without any further delay. And in situations like this in the past, I think we have delivered and kept things moving. So that's what I would kind of propose for the plat and everything that we have going on there.
Okay, thank you. Is there any members of the audience who has any comments in regards to this project? All right, hearing none, oh, wait, yes, I do, sorry. Spoke too soon. Go ahead, state your name and address for the record.
Jesse Gass, 6084 Avon Belden Road. These big so-called storm sewers you are putting in, I am flooding out big time.
Okay.
Ever since you guys started this project, my backyard has been a lake. I've got geese and duck every time it storms, swimming in my backyard. They've raised my whole backyard behind it 3 feet. They just dropped that big drain tile and put dirt right over it. And it's gonna drop straight down into my yard. And they're not supposed to match with natural flow, I thought. And I mean, it's 3 feet away from my property line. It's gonna be a dead drop. If you go out there, you could see it's just a big black pipe, and they just put dirt right over it. And I measured it. It's 3 feet high. And they ain't done putting dirt over it yet.
And I'm Tracy Gass, his
6084.
wife, 6084 Avon Belden Road. I got 2 partials, and my sump pump is continually running.
Because of all the backflow.
Yeah. and
The
it's
water
a
has
pond
nowhere to
back
go, so
there.
it's coming towards my house. I'm the lowest lot out of the 3 1-acre lots.
Is this the first time the city's heard of this issue?
I've spoke of it in the past.
In what forum? Called someone on the phone, or?
I came up here once and started to bring it up, and it was like, it was like something stupid. So I just walked off. It was years ago, and I've never been back since. But now that this has started, it's gotten so worse, I can't take it no more.
Yeah, and I have 2 partials, and it cost me in taxes $5,435.10 that I'm paying on, and I'm getting all this flooding.
Okay. Well, I assume, not gonna speak on behalf of the administration, but I assume the administration will have an inspector take a look and see if, the developer violated any drainage rights or anything like that.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chair, I'd
my
be happy to
storm
look into
sewer.
that with my team.
Sounds good. All right, city engineer said they'll look into it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Is there any other members of the audience with any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I will close public session. Is there any questions or comments from the commission members?
Mr. Chairman, to the city engineer, so this potential sanitary waste that may be spilling into the stormwater system, now, are you aware of any, or this is just a maybe? I was kind of confused by that.
Well, I just want to clarify, Mr. Schuman, that public health does not call it sanitary waste. It's more of a gray water, you
Okay.
know. It's a septic tank to leach field to outlet. We had kind of a similar situation with this development on Stony Ridge. There was some development that backed over there that had existing septic systems, and drain tile was uncovered during earthwork operations. And it was found that it was mostly just drainage from the leach tiles. And because of certain requirements that the public health has about this discharge, especially in the older systems, they do not allow connection to new storm sewer systems.
I see.
So more investigation would need, at this time, I don't know. I've only been made aware of the situation recently, and as far as I know, they haven't uncovered if it is all, you know, just storm surface runoff, or if it is indeed from outlets to the existing leach beds there. So I think more investigation needs to be made, and then public health would need to be apprised of the situation and help those people remedy the situation.
If this did uncover that these leach beds were failing, or, I mean, I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Is
Yeah.
that something you'd be corrected after the fact?
You may be aware of some recent communication that went out to the county. Public health is having a more active role in reviewing and inspecting existing systems. So they have really been pushed on by the state to inspect more regularly and provide guidance for the existing systems. So we typically get them involved as soon as possible in these situations to see what could potentially be done. Unfortunately, what we saw on the other side along Stony was the neighbors were discharging onto a property that they didn't own and there was no easements for. But, you know, back in the day, unfortunately, easements weren't secured, obtained, and kind of, unfortunately, goes back to the property owner of the system itself to resolve the issue.
I guess what I'm asking is, if we approve this, is this something that can be taken care of after the fact? Or would we be remiss in approving it if there's a potential problem?
At the very least, I would recommend that we make a conditional approval for the plat, that it not be executed until we get more information on this drainage tile that I just don't know. I don't know if it's stormwater or if it's leach field discharge. So I really need to know that, and then we can make a recommendation from there what to do with it.
Okay, so they're going ahead and starting the project and starting to place some concrete is okay, as long as we
I
add
would
that
be amenable
condition.
to that.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other questions or comments from the commission?
Mr. Chair, I have to admit, this is something I've learned over the last couple of years as it pertains to cul-de-sacs. And I would suggest, and I would hope that you put maybe some extra rebar in those areas, because when they start failing, they're expensive for us. And that's what's happening in Ridgefield and a few others. Their cul-de-sacs are failing. And it costs a lot of money for us to repair those things.
We did stabilize 100% of the project too, by the way.
Okay,
I think if you factor that in, that might help your thoughts.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can tell you that you have to do, but I'm just hoping that you help us out down the road 20, 30 years, which I won't be around to see anyway, but it's just something, for, you know, the city, I wish the city fathers would have known about these details when cul-de-sacs started going in. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments? I guess I have one question for the applicant. Typically on plats, when there's wetlands, they're sort of protected by a conservation easement. What's the protection on these wetlands, you know, once the HOA starts to maintain these parcels?
Well, in other phases that we have there, those areas are deemed, whether they're wetlands or setbacks and areas that not to be disturbed. There's nothing surrounding them, basically, they're made aware of.
Oh, do you mind stepping up to the podium? Sorry.
Those areas in the other phases of development are basic, there's nothing that surrounds them, or there's no perimeter or anything. I mean, I think that as they take them over, they understand that that's indeed what those areas are, and they're to remain natural.
Yeah, I guess it's just,
There's nothing special that goes on in those areas. I mean, we would clear around them, we make sure that they're not disturbed like they are now. They've been protected since the start of construction. They're orange fenced off.
Okay.
And then as, we delineate or whatever we do there, we can get into certain areas and remove them. I still have some areas over there in that particular project, Phase 8, that we haven't removed yet, just to make sure that, we're gonna do that after the roadway's poured.
okay, so the HOA is fully aware and they have all the correct mapping.
They would
So
have
they-
all of the correct map.
Okay,
Yes.
so that way they could continue to
Maintain
maintain.
it the way that it should be
and-
maintained.
Okay, so they're not developed in the future.
Right.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
just to further answer your question, in our HOA, we do have wetlands. We're not allowed to touch them. It's in our charter. And I would assume it'll be in their charter as well.
okay. So I guess a bit of discussion on the $1 million of work. You said concrete's gonna be poured.
Starting tomorrow.
Right, so obviously, we're a recommending body, we make a recommendation, it goes to council, so that whole process, when's the next council meeting? Monday. Oh, it was pretty quick, all right. And then, obviously, it's gonna take the city engineer, 2 or 3 weeks to find the correct felt pen. And then after that, we have to make sure, that the temperature's adequate. And by then, hopefully, all the work will be done. Is that sort of what I'm thinking? Okay, or would you like us to put or would you feel more comfortable with a condition on there that we would be at substantial completion before the plat's executed?
To your
Without
point,
a
Mr.
performance
Chair,
bond.
I think, as the applicant has already stated, the majority of this outstanding items is in the concrete. So that's not to say that there's still outstanding items, because there are. I've got a list of 22. So I think once the roadway is in and been approved by our team, then we could look at the outstanding items. We could evaluate that for a performance bond on those remaining items. Oftentimes, a lot of these items are not done until after the plat's been executed, and just final grading, landscaping, what have you, lighting. Those are issues they work out through the construction of the building phase. So we could implement the performance bond for those outstanding items, negating the roadway. And then also, I want to ensure that the drainage tile is addressed, and we have a recommendation for the addressing of the tile. So I think as long as we address those items, we can conditionally approve that the execution of the plat will be done upon the roadway being in and the performance bond being submitted with the outstanding items at that value.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions, further questions from the commission?
Yes, through the chair, to the administration. We had a note from the arborist, Mr. Thomas, included in our packet, and he was citing a ordinance here, 1030.045, retention and preservation of trees and woodlands. And that states that developers shall retain and preserve as many healthy trees and woodlands as possible within their subdivisions and developments. And according to our arborist, in phase 8, the developer cleared an area greater than 10 acres, and it was 100% removed. Now, I remember with another developer that we had a project with where they had done some cutting like that. The city was able to have them plant additional trees to make up for that clear cutting. And what I was wondering was this clear cutting done in a compliant fashion? And are there any plans for the city to ask them to add additional trees?
Mr. Schultz, I cannot recall offhand if there were certain areas that were slated to be preserved and then they weren't. So I'd have to review that if that's what you're asking. I mean, a large chunk of this particular phase was cleared. You know, the improvements extend to every border. So I can't recollect if there was a certain area that was for preservation. I think the example that you're citing, there was an area that was supposed to be preserved, and we had talked about during planning, and then the contractor, I think unbeknownst to that developer, had cleared additional areas. So in that case, we asked the developer to go back and reestablish those trees for replacement. But I don't recall any areas in here that were slated for preservation that weren't. I'd have to review that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Anything else from the administration? All right, this time the chair will entertain a motion. I'd like to make a motion. The first condition, that the Route 83 unclassified pipe gets further evaluated and a solution that's acceptable to administration occurs. Second, the majority of the concrete roadway is finished. And third, any last minor punch list items will have a financial guarantee. All three of those conditions will be before the plat is executed. Any discussion on those conditions?
Sounds good.
All right, hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion. I'm sorry, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, at this time, Madam Secretary, please call roll.
Ali,
Yes.
Toth,
Yes.
Schuman,
Yes.
Abens,
Yes.
Smollett.
Yes.
Motion carries with a vote of 5-0.
Okay, Madam Secretary, please read the last applicant for tonight.
PPZ 2024-0308, Circle K, 34273 Lorraine Road, PPN 07-00-014-106-012. Applicant Brett Lamb, Circle K Stores, 935 East Talmadge Avenue, Akron, Ohio, 44310. Owner AGLR Investments LLC, 36097 Westminster Avenue, North Ridgeville, Ohio, 44039. Proposal consists of a new Circle K gas station and retail store, property zone B-3, Highway Commercial District.
Okay, Director Lieber, findings of fact.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As stated, this proposal consists of a new Circle K gas station and a retail store at the southeast corner of Lorraine Road and Root Road. It's about a 4.38 acre property. It's zoned B3 Highway Commercial District. Surrounding this property are parcels that have a variety of zoning designations, mostly other B3 zone property. To the south, there's a parcel zoned R1, and to the west, there's some combination of I2, which is limited industry, and also B1 neighborhood business district. So a smorgasbord of zoning designations in this area. An automobile service station is a permitted use in the B3 district. And I think just a quick word on zoning. You know, a permitted use, another way of saying it, is a by right use. It's explicitly allowed without needing any special approval, as long as it complies with the standards of the zoning code. The applicable regulations might be setbacks, height, lot coverage, parking. It's different from a conditional use in that it might only be allowed if you can meet certain special conditions. And it's also, our code has areas that establish prohibited uses that are expressly not allowed in certain districts. But in this case, zoning laws were established by council to define land uses that can be located in different areas of our community, and this particular zoning designation that was previously established allows for this use. It falls squarely within the list of permitted uses in the district. For this project, proposed structures include a new close to 4,000 square foot store with 12 fueling stations covered by a canopy. There on the site currently are an existing house, garage, and there are several accessory structures that will be demolished. The project is zoning compliant in terms of building height, lot, yard requirements, and lot coverage as well. The building itself is comprised of various textures and colors of a Nishiha product, which is a fiber cement panel. There's, on the outside of the building will be a propane tank, ice chest, seasonal display on the sidewalk area outside the main entrance. The canopy itself is comprised of aluminum composite panel with steel supports. They've provided for a trash enclosure, which will be constructed of a coordinating Nishiha brick to match the building. Based on the retail use and also the size of the store, 23 parking spaces are required. The plans show 17 straight parking spaces, and then there are the 12 spaces also at the fueling stations. So imagining people come for gas and then go in to get food or other retail items. Planning Commission can determine if those fueling station spaces can be counted to meet the demand for the store. I do think that is a reasonable request. Curbing is provided around the paved area of the site. There's bollards along the front of the building to protect the structure from those head-in parking spaces and from those patrons on the sidewalk. 2 curb cuts are shown, one on each frontage. The Lorraine Road curb cut is a 3-lane full access. Route Road curb cut is right in, right out only. A truck turn exhibit was provided. Sidewalks are provided along both frontages. Bike rack is required for this use. The landscape plan shows some plantings along the frontages and beds and also around the proposed ground signs. Arborvitae screening is provided along the east property line and also wraps the area where the dumpster enclosure is located. This might be the updated plan, but I recommended that arborvitae not be planted within 20 feet of the sidewalk just to ensure driver visibility coming in and out of the site. Some additional trees are located along Route Road driveway. Landscape irrigation is provided. There's existing natural vegetation, and there's a required riparian setback that provides some significant existing buffering to the vacant residential lot to the south in that case. Lighting consists of a combination of building mounted light fixtures, pole, and canopy lights. We had an updated site or lighting plan that was submitted recently. The site plan changed a bit, and so the lighting plan caught up to that site plan. And it appears on my first review that mounting heights of the poles, the fixtures, and illumination levels are code compliant. French Creek runs through that southern corner of the site, which requires the riparian setback I mentioned. There's also several wetland areas that have been identified. Wetland A will be preserved and B is going to be removed. The stormwater management is in a basin to the rear of the property. Staff had recommended and the applicant added a maintenance access route to the parking lot to that area along that northeast side of the building. There's an exterior sign package provided. That will require variances. But I really wanted to address a bit more about traffic and access. That was the key concern of city staff when this project was brought forward for our consideration was traffic and access. The applicant provided a traffic impact study, and we submitted that study to the city's traffic engineer consultant, who is very familiar with this particular area of town. As a result of their analysis and recommendations and also our internal dialogue with the applicant, we've had significant discussion between all the parties about existing traffic frustrations and considerations and also future traffic conditions that we can anticipate with growth, not just in North Ridgeville, but in the areas surrounding North Ridgeville that impact our local traffic. And that we know we need to anticipate potential future road widening or other safety or efficiency improvements at Route and Lorraine because it's only getting busier and this project would certainly increase traffic. Based on these discussions, we had requested and the applicant updated their traffic impact study, and they've also agreed to some significant modifications from the original site plan. So just to march through what some of those are. First was And maybe if we could go with a site plan that has some of the red, maybe that, I don't, with, yeah, the one with the red line, that one, I think I could see red from here. I think I need glasses. Okay. The first concession was the dedication of right-of-way to the city for potential future roadway widening and other improvements that would potentially include a future roundabout at Lorraine and Route. That's not necessarily a project that we had on the books, but we just wanted to keep our options open for the future. We know that roundabouts can create efficiency. We also know conventional road widening might be a possibility at this intersection. So this, the red lines along that show the setback increased along both Lorraine Route and then the radius allow maximum future flexibility for the city of North Ridgeville to determine the best potential future expansion at that intersection. So the property owner would dedicate a 20-foot deep strip of property along both Route and Lorraine. Also, they dedicate property at the intersection to accommodate a roundabout that would be 200-foot diameter that would include the sidewalks required around the roundabout. And then the property owner is also providing a larger easement area for the culvert at French Creek than currently exists. The applicant agreed that the Route Road curb cut would be right in, right out only, and also located as far south from Lorraine Road intersection as possible. We did discuss that Lorraine Road curb cut might be full access, but with conditions. And some of the conditions that we suggested were that if there were to be a roundabout constructed at Route and Lorraine in the future, that the full access Lorraine Road curb cut would be converted to right in, right out only, because that roundabout will allow functionality traveling in all directions. Therefore, left turns into and out of the site would no longer be required. Also, and this is kind of our, but what if the roundabout's not constructed and there are accidents? We've had the discussion that if significant traffic crashes result at that Lorraine Road curb cut after the opening of the Circle K, that the applicant would agree to also convert the full access curb cut to right in, right out. And we established a metric based upon the Uniform Manual of Traffic Control Devices. I think I said that right. And that specifically looking at angle or pedestrian crashes, 5 such crashes in a 3-year period would be that triggering moment. We've also asked them to make, as part of their project, modifications to pavement markings. We know that the northbound left turn lane from Route onto Lorraine Road is undersized for the queuing capacity needed now and in the future, so that would be extended. And we also have concerns about that Lorraine Road curb cut and lefts in and traffic blocking that intersection for left in, left out. So some kind of pavement delineation that would prevent queuing up of traffic in that particular location. And then last was that if any signage or elements of the project were located within any future right-of-way, that if anything needed to be relocated as part of the project, that would be at the owner's expense, not the city's expense. So we feel this was, we appreciate the applicant's willingness to work with the city through our significant concerns about traffic, and believe that many of these conditions should be conditions of Planning Commission's approval if you so choose to grant it.
Just one bit of clarification. The future road widening, you were talking about either traditional intersection widening or roundabout. So they are dedicating a portion of their land to the city
Yes,
for free?
yes,
Okay. That's a great partnership.
yes,
Regardless if and that's for both, the roundabout and for traditional intersection.
yes,
Okay. And then they also agreed for, if that one intersection has accidents, to go back and relook at that. Okay.
yes.
All right. City engineer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Ms. Lieber mentioned, the applicant has addressed all of engineering's preliminary concerns, and the final remaining items will be reviewed during the final engineering permit. I would add, though, that I would like to see the applicant prepare the right-of-way dedication plat and ensure that it gets recorded at the county. That'd be most helpful. Thank you.
Assistant Law Director.
No issue.
Okay. Is there someone representing this application? Okay, go ahead, state your name and address for the record.
Hey, good evening. My name is Brett Lamb and with Circle K. My address is 35 Hudson Common Drive, Hudson, Ohio, 44236.
In case any questions are asked of the Circle K's engineer, my name is Robert Wellert. My address is 5136 Beach Road, Medina, Ohio.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say, we're really excited about this partnership. Working with the city has been really, truly, like you said, a good partnership. And what Circle K is trying to do right out the gate is build that community here in North Ridgeville. My job at Circle K is real estate development. Not a technical engineer, that's why he's here. But one of the things that we're excited about is bringing kind of what I like to say, our kind of best in class, our best foot forward, building prototype to a city like North Ridgeville. We haven't done a ton of new development in Ohio in the past 5-10 years. And it's an area, we're an international company, but Ohio's always been an area where we've had good customer loyalty, good brand recognition, and we just have not really put a lot of new development into our assets. So we have a lot of older, tired assets throughout the state of Ohio, and we're just excited about what we're bringing to the future. And this is one of hopefully many, but we're excited that it's going to be here in North Ridgeville. This new prototype is going to bring, if you've been to a Circle K in Elyria and it doesn't have gas, that's not what we're bringing here. This is going to be our full food offer. It's going to have, all the bells and whistles of a best-in-class C-store gas station. So, again, just kind of excited about, what we're doing and working with the city, and hopefully this will be a great project and it's something you guys can be proud of for many, many years to come.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'm going to open up for general public comment. If you want to make a comment, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Kitty Salyer. I live at 8605 Root Road. My property is near the intersection and across the creek from the property where they would like to build this gas station. And I'm opposed to building this or any other gas station at the corner because a gas station will bring even more traffic, we talked about that, to an already heavily congested area at different times of the day. And one concern I do have is the safety. I'm also concerned about the reduction in our property values due to the proximity of a gas station that very few people would like to live next to, not only because of the traffic issue, but because of litter, crime, odor, and lack of visual appeal. There are already gas stations in the area that people can go to, and this does not benefit the neighborhood. From my short period of time living here in North Ridgeville, there are things I really like about this city. However, as a person who also comes from Hudson, I would love to see a solid plan of creating a nicer commercial district that appeals to people who can come from out of town and spend money in our city. I don't think that a gas station would be as beneficial on this end of Lorraine Road as another business would be. We already have 3 gas stations on Lorraine Road within 1.5 miles of this location. If you create an area with multiple gas stations strung all the way down the road, how attractive is that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Barbara Ackerman. The address is 8578 Brook Road. I've lived here in North Ridgeville for 40 years. My husband's lived there his whole life. I got to tell you a story that this happened about 10 years ago. A semi was driving down Brook Road. Semis aren't allowed on Brook Road, but he was driving down Brook Road towards Lorraine Road, made a left in the Baptist church, and he had 3 rows of coil of steel. The semi flipped. My husband went and got the guy out of the cab. Diesel fuel went down in the ditch. It can happen. It can happen. The tanks can leak, and then once a gas station is there, the value of the property isn't worth anything. As with what Kitty said, the traffic. I don't know if you've gone on Brook Road. Come sit in my driveway. The traffic on Saturdays is horrendous. Sundays at 12, 3, 4, 5, and 6 o'clock, traffic is backed up to the end, to past the development. To get out of there, it's a joke. Also, my husband works late at night, so there's police always at Sheets. Is that what's gonna happen up there? I mean, and I grew up in the city of Avon, and it was known as, there was as many bars as there was churches. People go to the bars on Saturday, and Sunday, they go to church to repent.
Yeah.
Well, I'd hate to, North Ridgeville be known as, come to North Ridgeville, we got Mexican restaurants, and we got gas stations. I think you guys can do better with this. I think you guys can find something better out there that will, like Kitty said, bring more people to North Ridgeville. These are crap convenience stores, just like crap fast food places. You need something good to bring people here, to bring money into the city. It's, I talked to some people in North Olmsted, and they said, oh, North Ridgeville, it's only known as for developments. Thank you for listening. Have a great night.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience with any questions or comments? Go ahead.
Hello, Holly Swank, 36259 Center Ridge. What is the repercussion if they agree that in 3 years from now they have 16 car crashes in a week and they refuse to make it a right turn? And then my other comment is there's a development going in down Reed Road into by Sprague Road. You're going to have that influx of development coming to that gas station, and they're going to only be able to make a right out of there, but they need to go left to go home. So then they're going to have to go out Lorraine, make a left on Road. It's going to be a traffic nightmare, I'm telling you. I said it when they put Sheets in, and now look where we're at with that intersection. That's all my comment.
Okay. Everybody else in the general audience? Go ahead.
I'm James Barr, the pastor of Faith Baptist Temple there on that corner there where your circle kind of takes a big chunk of my yard. But we just wanted to come, and we got a couple of concerns. The traffic was the big one, and the safety there. I got a person living across the street there that comes every Sunday, and he's walking across there. So the other issues, I'd like Doug, he's a trustee at the church. He works in construction. And some of the men, what's rushing, that creek comes behind there. And since all these developments have been built, we've got when it rained like the other day, it comes underneath our bus barn, and it's washing out that area under there. And so that's a big concern of ours right now, is if that flow gets more, we're gonna have a barn in the creek. And so that was our concerns, but he was gonna come and say something.
Douglas Connor, 445 Railroad Street, LaGrange. I'm a trustee of the church across the street. Our concern is the storm footprint that they're gonna try to use. They're gonna have surface water, they're gonna have to control it. I know there's a retention there, but previously with all the upstream of the development, we've got a tremendous amount of water coming through our property, which is that ditch line. And we have erosion issues. The city a while back put in a new 24-inch corrugated pipe discharging at an angle through that ditch line, which is even creating more surface water, and that's causing erosion. So we're gonna have to build something. I don't know if the city has anything in the engineering for that ditch. even though I don't know what the easement is on that ditch line, whether the city has direction or that, or is that our responsibility as far as taking care of the erosion problems because of the stormwater? That was my question. I don't know. I don't know if there's an easement on that ditch line or not.
Mr. Chair, if I may, North Ridgeville does have maintenance right-of-way over that ditch line. It's 75 feet, so centered on the ditch. So we do have access and availability to get in there. I can't speak for Public Works if there is any planned maintenance for this particular section of ditch line. I'd have to inquire with them.
Well, as you can see, the ditch line that exists there comes in at an angle now. So that angle is right into our property where our building is. So the more surface water, now it's going into the ground. It used to put hard surface down. You gotta control that water. Water off of the pump area, water off of the building area, water off the concrete surface. Even though you have a retention basin there, I'm hoping it's big enough. You're still gonna have water coming out of that retention basin. Maybe not all at one time, that's the whole purpose of it, but there's still the volume of water has to go somewhere. And it's gonna go to that ditch line because that property falls towards the ditch. And then that'll go right across our property and we're gonna have to deal with a more issue of water. I mean, that ditch rises 4 feet with all this amount of rain we've had. And we've had a really wet spring, but that's our concern. That and the traffic, we'll have more traffic. It's, you build it, they will come. So that's our concern.
Another question.
Microphone, please.
You want to give me I didn't give you my address. I live at 601 Bowling Green Circle in Elyria. But the other question, when I got sent a letter from the state about the alcohol distance and so on, that was the other question. Is the alcohol going to be 500 feet from our property? The letter stated if you objected or something like it had three objections. One, do you want to call a hearing? Or two, do you want to go to Columbus and have a hearing? Or three, do you just want to object and not have a hearing? Okay, so I called them in. We put down object. And we sent it to back to Columbus or wherever we sent it. But the alcohol, I guess, has got to be 500.
Are you talking about the liquor license?
Yes.
Well, this wouldn't have a liquor license. Because, I mean, that's more or less for like a bar or a restaurant.
I think retail sales.
Do they have a separate liquor license then, like a? But I mean, it's not like the one that's, you have so many per city. I thought that was the ones that the people are objecting to.
I don't know, they asked us, they told us the law was such and such, and it would not be as far as approving it, wouldn't be based on my objection or not, but I would have a objection to it. But they said because the law was 500 feet from a church or school, they had to notify us that this would be. So I don't know. I was just wanting to know, is the alcohol building where it's going to be sold, is it going to be 500 feet from my property, which, I'm right on the corner on the other side of the street there. But when the road was widened before, it took 10 feet of our property all along that side there, I believe is what it was. I can't remember all the details of it. But I mean, if you're going to take more of it there, if this all goes through, I mean, whatever that extension is and all that stuff goes on. That was my questions, is how close is the building that's selling the alcohol to my property, okay? And then this traffic issue, we have people coming in and out of all over that place up there. Those were the issues. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Did you get the letter because it's less than the required amount of footage from your establishment?
I think it was just.
I'm not understanding why you
I think
would.
it was just telling me that somebody had, Circle K had made an application or something, and they have a license to sell liquor there or alcohol. And what I was informed in the letter was that from a church or school, you couldn't sell alcohol. And that's why I
called my lawyer, he said you can put an objection, but as long as they meet that 500 feet.
So they did meet the 500.
I don't know. I guess they did. I mean, I got a letter from you guys about a meeting that got canceled, and then, so on. But, I just wanted to know if that was going to be part of their plan.
So, and
Go- yeah,
if
go
you don't
ahead.
mind. Yeah, so anytime, we get a retail sales license, so it's a C1 and C2 license, which is just for beer and wine consumption, but off-site. So, you buy a 6-pack of beer, you can, take it home. That's the license that we get at a convenience store. And those licenses, a C1 or a C2, it is controlled by how many you have and all of that. I believe in this case, I have to check with our attorney, we run these by our attorneys, and they get the licensing if there's, and I believe there were those 2 permits available to us. And even if you are within 500 feet of a church or a school in the state of Ohio, you are allowed to sell for within those C1 and C2 permits. You can sell beer and wine. We're not selling any hard liquor.
Different permit.
Right, it's a different permit. So you actually are allowed to sell, and you are required to send notice to a church or a school notifying them. But barring some very, very hard thresholds of us abusing those permits, you can object, but it's difficult, from my understanding, from what my attorney said, to challenge those.
So some of the questions, maybe you could enlighten them. The underground storage tanks, Ohio has established, Buster, and maybe
Yeah.
you could get to that a little bit.
I'm gonna let my engineer speak to Buster rules better than I can, but sure.
Yes, the underground storage tank system will all conform to federal and Ohio state requirements. We'll obtain the appropriate permits for that. They're double wall tanks, double wall piping, so that if there were some type of leak, you've got the outer containment vessels for that. It's a continuously monitored system. So it's the newest and greatest systems out there. It's just pretty standard industry for all new gas stations. Not like, they're fiberglass tanks. It's not like the old steel tanks that you would have back in the 40s and 50s, even in the 60s, that seem to fail. And there's certain periods, lifespans that, especially a company like Circle K, that is very aware of, that they monitor and take care of those systems.
Right. And then while you're up, you might want to just dive in a little bit on stormwater control, how retention, once the site's developed, the outfall is actually less than it was before.
Right. So, as we showed on this plan, we do have a stormwater basin. It's preliminary sizing right now, but I'd say it's probably in the ballpark of what it'll end up being. And all of the stormwater for the paved areas will go into that basin. It's held temporarily so that the rate of runoff is slowed down. It's discharged at equal to or less than pre-development rates. So, again, however that final design ends up, there's still some massaging we'll have to do to get it there, but it'll be in conformance with the City of North Ridgeville and State of Ohio EPA requirements. The State of Ohio has water quality requirements, and we'll meet those also with this basin.
Okay. And then the other question that came up, I guess, the difference between this and Sheets. Sheets has like a full food preparation area. I'm not sure what this is more or less more of a convenience store, right?
Yeah, so Sheets is essentially become a gas station and a Taco Bell. They have a full drive-through, they have a full kitchen, they're developing, they're cooking food on site. We do not do that. We have a program that internally means nothing to you guys, we call Fresh Food Fast. So it means we are cognizant of the fact that we want to have a better food offer than the C-stores of the past. And we do want to offer, fresh made salads and fresh made, wraps and sandwiches that you can grab and go. But we're not cooking those on site. So those are heated. We'll have pizza, that's heated, and you can grab and go a slice or a full pizza. Same with those sandwiches. Those are heated in essentially like a convection oven type of thing, that warms those up. So we'll warm up the breakfast sandwiches at a certain time in the morning, so they're ready to grab and go. And then we also provide the ones that are like, hey, you can heat them up yourself if you take them to work and have a microwave kind of thing. So our food program is more convenience, more grab and go for the customer that's trying to get in and out. And we won't have a drive-through, we're not making food on site, that kind of thing, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And
All
part
right.
of the reason that Sheetz has the cops there is because of that program, by the way.
The what now?
The kids love hanging out at Sheetz.
It's the kids hangout, correct.
We don't have that same problem.
Does any of the commission members have any questions or comments?
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
One of the concerns I have is, I'm sure you realize you're deep in no truck zone area. The only legal way that I see for your trucks to come and service your store is Lorraine, from 480 Lorraine. And my concern is, I'm gonna be finding Circle K trucks on Sugar Ridge, Route, Reed, all of those, because truck drivers being who and what they are. How are you gonna control that?
Are you speaking, I guess, specifically to our delivery trucks?
Your delivery trucks.
So, we have provided that truck turn plan, I think that we showed to the city and to the city engineers to ensure how we're gonna have those trucks move in and out of our site safely.
I'm just concerned because, believe it or not, I personally have seen 18-wheel tanker trucks on Sugar Ridge Road. They're not servicing Circle K, I understand.
Sure.
But when they come in from 57, they like to use Sugar Ridge. And also, I believe Circle K uses a lot of spot gas, which means you may be using some of the terminals that are along 83, which means they'll be coming down 83. It's not legal for them to come down Lorraine. If they use 82, they'll try and use Route or Reed or something like that. And I'm just wondering how you're going to prevent your drivers from doing that.
Can you tell me specifically where it's not legal for the trucks to drive?
Lorraine
with
from
respect to this?
83, Route, any place on Route.
So the way we've modeled it to date is assuming, I know that North isn't due up on this plan, but if North is due up on this plan, we've modeled trucks coming on Lorraine Road from the east.
That's correct.
And they would head westerly to the site, enter the Lorraine Road Drive, drop fuel or supplies at the site, and then exit on the Route Road Drive to get right back to the intersection. So we need that 150 feet to
Right,
get to the
I
light.
understand
and then
that.
head back to Lorraine. So it's my understanding that Circle K, and I've heard this at other locations with them, that they can control their truck deliveries, at least with respect to the fuel. So they transport their own fuel. They tell their drivers, this is the route you have to take in to get in and get out. Other vendors, I can't answer that question, but this is what we've modeled off.
Quite frankly, my main concern is your fuel delivery trucks.
Yeah, and to Mr. Weller's point, one of the benefits of, being a corporately run store with our own fleet of drivers is that we do have control over how they're delivering and what route they're taking.
Okay, because I can tell you that there's a trucking firm over in Taylor. They've told their drivers, you use Sugar Ridge and you're in big trouble. And my understanding is not one of their trucks has been spotted on Sugar Ridge. And believe me, there's people there that give me daily updates. The other question I have too, it's a concern, is not all cars are maintained properly. They're dripping fluids, oil, gas, God knows what else. My concern is when it does rain, water runoff goes into that creek. I know it goes into the detention pond first, but that detention pond does not treat that water. How can you prevent your runoff from your pavement, from those fluids that are leaking onto your pavement going into that creek?
Well, I guess there are potential methods for that to happen, but there are no specific regulations that require it at a gas station for this. So, you know, what I've seen at gas stations is some stained concrete. I don't know where it's come from over the years. That can happen, but the detention pond does control runoff. It retains it, and it's meant to treat the water. I can't guarantee it treats 100% of any type of petroleum release, but I'm not aware of any regulations that
Okay, so
that
the
require
detention pond,
petroleum.
you're gonna be setting something up in the detention pond to help
The
treat some of
detention
those
pond
areas.
has, yes, the general design of the detention ponds is, as the water comes in, there's a deeper area for that water to pool and settle and be still for a while before it, and things can settle out before it discharges to wherever it's going, the creek or a ditch or a receiving stream. So it is designed per EPA regulations for
Okay.
water quality, but there's not a specific item for, you know, petroleum.
I also
releases.
noticed you have a grease trap. What's the grease trap for?
For food. There's still sugars and things that could be in the water interior to the store. Yeah.
That's what I kinda thought.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I did have a question for you, Mr. Avens.
Sure.
Does the city have a specific map with truck restricted routes? Because I'm not really aware of where those are. You said Route Road. Is it the full length of Route Road? Or are there
You can
certain
depend
areas
on
that-
just about every road in North Ridgeville is restricted except for the state routes. That would be 83 and 20, 10? Lorraine Road is, Lorraine Road from the Turnpike east is a truck route. But Lorraine, the Turnpike west on Lorraine is no trucks. And within our ordinances, you're allowed to use it, but you have to use the shortest route to get to your location.
Mr. Chairman,
Go.
you can
Go
talk
ahead.
to the police department too. They're very good about enforcing if you're not supposed to be there, but they're very helpful into helping you plan a route as well.
Okay,
I do have a map, Mr. Weller, I can give it to you.
okay.
And
Yeah,
just
that'll be
let,
something that, you know, Mr. Well and myself, I'll need to provide to our operations folks so that they understand that and they will abide by it.
and just to let you know, I saw a truck pulled over last night on Lorraine on the overpass for the railroad. And the truck was pulled over.
So it's policed pretty well. Okay.
Okay, is there any further questions or comments from the commission?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Just being a past gas station owner and a present mechanical owner, with that retention pond, they can put an oil water separator in that will take care of what, you know, Bruce was talking about. So for any kind of like, you know, diesel or any fluids will be caught in the oil water separator. And that's EPA certified, so
Yeah, I know every once in a while, filling the tanks,
never know, correct. So it doesn't
Sometimes
go in,
there's an
yeah,
accident.
it won't go
I
into that
understand.
creek then. So, but yeah.
I just don't want those chemicals going into our ponds or creeks.
Understood.
You can also talk to our waste management, at French Creek,
40 grand.
and he'll be glad to help you out too.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
is that something we can insist upon or for our recommendation?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Weller, but aren't you obligated to have do you have any spill prevention other than?
The site
The con-
has to prepare a spill prevention, containment, and countermeasure plan, which identifies what would happen in the case of a spill. But there are no written regulations that require an oil water separator at a gasoline filling station. I agree with you, Mr. Ellie, that one could be designed to do that. It could be kind of challenging for this site. There'd be a fair amount of regrading, a lot of piping, things that would have to happen. It's not impossible to do, but there's the balance between what's required by law or code and maybe is what good practice. So I don't know where that fine line is here on that decision, but there's not one proposed with this current plan.
Would this be cost prohibitive to do something like that?
They can get pricey. I'm working on a project right now in another state where it was required in that community that you had to do it, and I think the separator itself is upwards of $150,000, and then you still have the installation, you have the maintenance, and it's a pretty expensive venture. Yeah. The other issue with the oil water separators is they do have limited capacity, so you can't just put one in and contain all of the stormwater for the site. So when I mentioned to you that would be somewhat challenging, a separator that would handle that whole site would be too big. It's not really feasible to do. So you end up containing a smaller area, which is generally like under the canopy in the fueling area. It's rare, and I can't think of an instance where I've seen it at a gasoline fueling facility. It's a little more common at truck stops because the diesel is just a little dirtier fuel, and the rates of flow in a diesel dispenser are much higher than a gasoline dispenser. So when we've done it, and I've seen it done, it's almost exclusively been at truck stops under their diesel, high-flow diesel.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
generally speaking, in order to add conditions, they have to be reasonable. You need some kind of evidence, fact-based evidence that it was necessary in this applicant's circumstances, as opposed to that there's something different about this application compared to other ones. So you need a little bit more.
In my head, anything that's gonna fall on that concrete at this site is the same stuff that's gonna hit the road.
Well, he has to comply with engineering requirements, EPA requirements, and like I said, we would need additional evidence that this is gonna be more contaminated than other similar sites in order to require something.
I understand. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Go ahead.
Maybe Mr. Weller, you could speak about I believe, if I'm not mistaken, due to the nature of the project, you would have the spill prevention that we talked about. Don't you have a kit or material on site? So if there was at the hose some discharge onto the pavement, you have the material or the netting or whatever it is that they use on site at all times?
Right. So the spill prevention plans are not something that we prepare as part of the development, but it's part of Circle K's operational procedures and required with their new sites. And you're right, they have spill kits with methods to clean up any spills. They have, I believe there's a manual. There's generally a manual available with emergency contacts and procedures there to follow in case of a spill. I also remind you that the things that you would see from automobiles, you're correct, nothing more than you'd see at a Walmart parking lot or a Rite Aid or some other parking area. I sense that a general concern is what happens if the gas dispenser, starts spewing fuel. Well, we've all been to the gas stations. You have to physically hold that handle open, and someone would have to be deliberate to that for it to be overfilling. There's the overfill releases in your car that shut those handles off. There have been instances where someone would put a nozzle in the car and forget and drive off. If you've ever looked at the black hoses at those dispensers, there's a stainless steel collar further up, and that's a breakaway. So if that hose pulls, that breaks away and it closes a valve. So the only fuel that you would lose is that amount in that, your dispenser hose. So there are methods in the fueling system to limit any type of release. Generally, I haven't watched them, but if I've heard of releases, they've been relatively small before, 20 gallons or something. It may sound like a lot, but it's not like we're talking hundreds of gallons or a whole gas tank from a semi spilling on the ground.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other further questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Could you confirm your hours of operation? Is this going to be a 24/7?
Yes.
Okay, so it is a 24/7 operation. And to the administration, you spoke regarding the northbound Route Road left turn lane queuing. You mentioned an extension to that lane. When would that occur? Would that be prior to construction, or would that be concurrent?
That would be concurrent with construction. I think the current queue length for the left turn is about 50 feet, and we're proposing to extend that to 150 feet of left turn queuing, and that would be part of this project.
And that land would be coming from the Circle K property, not the church's side?
It's available in the current right-of-way. It just needs to be restriped.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Right, but any dedication is only from the Circle K side for property dedication for future use, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, does the administration have any final comments? All right, hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion. I make a motion to accept.
Second.
Madam Secretary, roll.
Ollie?
Yes.
Toth?
Yes.
Schuman?
Yes.
Abens?
Yes.
Smollett?
Yes.
Motion carries with a vote of 5-0.
Okay, that concludes North Ridgeville Planning Commission meeting tonight. We are adjourned. Good evening, everybody.